Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day this video finds you. It's your boy Jay, and today we're talking about Monster Hunter Wilds and the ability to carry two weapons into a hunt. Now, usually I'm a pretty positive guy. However, I gotta say, the two weapon system of Monster Hunter Wilds is leaving me wanting a bit more from it, right? I'm a little bit disappointed by the execution of it, right? When it was announced, I originally thought like, yo, this could be a huge deal because of some of the things that it could unlock. But we have seen almost none of that come to fruition. And like the way it's currently implemented in the game, there's not really that much of a reason to interact with the weapon swap mechanic, you know what I mean? So off the rip, as it is in the game, it's a little bit on the clunky side to do, right? You gotta get back on your sacred in order to switch weapons, which takes you out of the fight for quite a bit of time, especially given just how long the usual hunts are in Wilds in general, right? So the most opportune time to switch weapons is when the monster runs away, and then you jump on your sacred and you give chase, and then at that point it's cool, like, oh, okay, I might as well swap right here if I am gonna swap. But mid-battle, it takes a while. You call the sacred to you, takes a while to get to you. Then you jump on, then you have to swap, then you have to jump back off the bird, and then by that time, you know, 45, 60 seconds have already gone past, and it's like the way I'm feeling about switching the weapon is already changed, even in that short amount of time, you know. So there's that. It's a little clunky off rip. Now, if there was a way to speed up this weapon change, right? Like, let's say, I don't know, maybe in the master rank they work on it, and you call your sacred over with the button, and it will run by you, and your hunter quickly swaps the weapon while the sacred is like running by. Maybe it does like a circle around you, and you know, your hunter puts away one weapon, boom, pulls out the next one, and then boom, you're back into the hunt, and your position isn't like changed all that much, and it's easier to switch weapons while staying engaged with the monster. I think that will let people, you know, use it much more than it is already, aside from the whole like jump on the bird, jump off the bird. It's a little clunky, whatever. And then also the way the armor skills and weapon skills work currently in the game, there's really not that many reasons to swap weapons, you know, like aside from double hunting horn, which I did make a video on earlier. Feel free to check that out, where you can almost have a much bigger song list, and then using the resounding Galahad, the Arkvel hunting horn with extend all melodies, you can keep all of those songs on for much longer than you could. And that's a cool way to use the whole like, I got two weapons with me, I have a super long song list because I can carry two different hunting horns with two different song list. That's a cool implementation of using the two weapon system. But another way of using it is stacking it with foray, which I did a little bit with the Blossom Dance armor set that came out, because it comes with foray. So you know, you carry a paralysis weapon, get a few paralysis procs off, and then swap to poison, get a few poison procs on, so that you can keep using foray for much longer than you would if you were only able to carry one weapon, you know. So those two are pretty much the only real like, oh, okay, this is how two weapons can really work with the armor skills and the way the game is set up right now. Now, if you have more examples, feel free to leave a comment down below. I do plan on replying to each and every comment that hits this video. And then another thing that I'm a little bit, you know, miffed about the two weapon system is the monster design, right? And like just the way hunting is working out so far in Monster Hunter Wilds is you would think that with the two weapons you can make something like, oh, okay, when you start the hunt, maybe cutting weapons are the best thing to use, and then after you break a certain part, boom, it will be beneficial to swap to maybe a blunt weapon, right? Or in the case of, you know, there is one example, Nursilla, right, which isn't a super high level threat, and you can brute force your way through it with one weapon, no problem. But Nursilla wears Gypsaros's hide as a cloak, right? But after you break it enough, then the hide will be gone, and then Nursilla becomes weak to thunder again, right? So in the beginning of the hunt, it's most beneficial for you to use fire, and then you break the cloak off, and then you can swap to a thunder weapon to do even more damage, right? I think that's how it works in my head. I might have said it backwards. I'm speaking off the top of my head here. But I was thinking more things like that would show up, right? And before the game came out and I saw Nursilla show up, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. It's going to tie into the using 2 weapons thing. Or even Gravios, right? Where you can use something that ignores hit zones like a gun lance, right? And then you get the belly broken and you break a couple parts, and now his hit zones are much better because you soften them up. Then you can switch to a regular cutting weapon or blunt weapon or something that will pay more attention to hit zones now that you've softened it up. But even Gravios, it's just kind of, you can just brute force your way through. It's not really that much of a challenge. It doesn't really push you toward the direction of, yeah, use this weapon and then switch to this weapon after you do this part of the fight. And not many monsters are doing that currently. Now, this is something that can be fixed over time. Like they can introduce a new monster in a title update, and like something similar to Alatreon, right? Where, okay, it starts in ice mode, and then if you don't break the horn, it's going to switch to fire mode, right? Now, back in Iceborne, when it first came out, that's a death sentence. You're going to eat an Eschaton Judgment and die if you don't break that horn, because you can only carry 1 weapon. But this, being able to switch weapons, would be a perfect fit for a system like that to show up and not cause as much friction as it did last time, because I didn't break the horn, now I lose, I'm punished for that. Like, not really. You could just swap and keep it pushing and get yourself another elemental knockdown and try to break the horn or not, or but I don't know if they're gonna do something like that again, because last time when we got Alatreon, we got massive review bombs and all that kind of stuff. So maybe they won't even go in that direction after the experience that was Alatreon last time we got it. One more thing to talk about when it comes to the 2 weapon system, right? So there's a primary weapon slot and there's a secondary weapon slot. Cool, right? And it's reflected on your guild card or whatever it's called now. But yeah, so the reason why that there being 2 slots is important, right, is I was thinking, they can bring back some of those Sunbreak skills that was, like you have one set of buffs or nerfs, whatever, active when you're on red scroll, and then when you swap to blue scroll, you can have another set of conditions active. I thought maybe some kind of weapon skills like that would show back up, because we have a primary slot and a secondary slot, right? Armor skills like Mail of Hellfire, Dragon Conversion, Furious, right? Where they have certain conditions linked to whatever swap scroll you're on. We can do that again here in Monster Hunter Wilds, but just tie it to your primary weapon gets this and your secondary weapon gets this. So that way it could encourage bringing 2 different weapons. So for example, let's say I think Mail of Hellfire, right? One is you get more raw, and then the other is you get more element, I think, right? We'll just say that. Sure, let's say Mail of Hellfire comes back. On your primary weapon, you get, I don't know, plus 15 raw. Great. And then when you swap to your secondary weapon, you get plus 20 element, but you're not going to get 15 raw and 20 element at the same time you swap. But this would encourage bringing something like a greatsword in the primary slot to take advantage of the higher raw, because greatswords do best with high raw, and then carrying maybe a set of dual blades in your secondary to take advantage of the elemental boost you get on your secondary, right? That would really, okay, that's how I'm gonna use this skill, and that's how I'm gonna use it with the 2 weapons, right? Things like Dragon Conversion again, right? Where you can do more defensive on secondary, maybe bring a hunting horn in that slot, and then you build up your buff, and then when you swap back to your primary, we can have that be dual blades, and then all your defenses get poured into your element, right? We could do something like that, but nothing interesting like that has shown up in Monster Hunter Wilds yet, right? And that's part of why I'm putting this video out there. I know Capcom pays attention to the videos that we make and pays attention to community sentiment. So I'm putting this out there that, like, hey, maybe in a future title update we could do something a little more interesting with these 2 weapons, maybe make some of these armor skills, maybe design a new monster where it's best to start out with maybe a ranged weapon and then swap to a Blade Master weapon in the middle of it, because it has 2 different phases. Like, let's do something interesting with it. You gave us the ability to carry 2 weapons, but it kind of feels like there's almost no reason to swap to them. It's completely optional most of the time, which is okay. I mean, I like player options, right? You have the option to use it. You're not forced into using it, but maybe there's a one-off fight where like, all right, you gotta use it to be successful. And, you know, you can encourage players to branch out and use maybe more weapons, or maybe it's best where you start with this element and then after a certain point in the fight, switching to a different element is even better, and that way you can still just be the longsword specialist you want to be, or whatever solo weapon specialist you are, but you carry 2 different weapons to react to the situation at hand, rather than it just being completely optional and kind of like, I don't even know why we had this, you know, because we upended the entire armor skill system, excuse me, to fit being able to carry 2 weapons, and now there's almost no reason to really carry 2 weapons. So it's like, okay, why did we change the whole armor system up if we don't really have to use 2 weapons? It's interesting, right? So yeah, that's gonna be about it for today's video. Definitely hit the comment section down below. Let me know how you're feeling about carrying 2 weapons into a hunt. Have you been interacting with the system? Are you just completely ignoring it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to reply to each and every comment that hits this video. And as always, people, happy hunting. Peace.